And so, Richard, first of all, congratulations.
Thanks very much. Great.
It's quite an achievement, dude. I know that there's probably the chat is filling up with people that are celebrating your success. I know it's happening all around the world. First, let me ask you, 19 months ago, what did you think when you first introduced to the concept? What do you think would happen?
Well, I always have, when I come into a concept, I have strong vision of where I want to be. I remember thinking, looking at president even, that was a long way off. That was my goals, to get there as quickly as I could. And I started obviously breaking the journey down into small steps, introducing people ones and twos. It's funny because you look back and you think, my goodness, that's how I started. It was literally just ones and twos.
That's it. So everyone starts.
Yeah, exactly. And but it was constant activity. It was, massive action from day one when I came into it.
Yeah. So a lot of people, Richard, lose sight of the fact that that building a business like this and earning the type of income one can is still a business, and it still takes work.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of them. I think it is the biggest thing that holds people back, is they don't treat it like a real business. It is a multi-million-pound business, if you treat it like that. If you talk to any of the leaders in the business, people that are doing well, they are treating it like a real business. They're focusing. If you are building a traditional business, you wouldn't just turn up and spend 5 minutes a week on it. You'd be on it all the time. And that's the thing, you can do that with a traditional business. That's great. Or you can focus on this. And this is why I love this concept, because it is, for me, so much more efficient. If you look at my business, I started off with just $300. I didn't put any more money into it. And in 18, 19 months, I have a business now turning over around $36 million a month. Sorry, around $36 million a month. It's phenomenal.
If you compare that also to a traditional business, the type of volume that's required, it's really quite an accomplishment. It's incredible. And the other thing that's really important and worth noting, you imagine someone, for example, who put their CV or their resume out all over the place, and they had one dream employer that they hoped and wished, and they managed to get that job. And they go to that job, and that employer says, okay, I need you to go do this thing for me. If they don't know how to do that thing, and that's their dream job, you better believe they're going to learn how to do that thing almost instantly. And they're going to consult whatever resource they need to consult to make sure not only do they learn how to do that thing, but they do that thing well. And we've got an opportunity here to create an income source that could well and truly change the course of your life. And so I would encourage people to approach that with exactly the same enthusiasm.
Yeah. And don't worry if it's not perfect. That's the thing. When you first start, it is not perfect. It's the activity. I think Jim Rohn has got a great saying, you make up in numbers what you lack in skill. And that's absolutely the case. It's that constant activity that makes the difference.
In fact, I think you should even revel in your mistakes.
Yeah.
Find joy in your mistakes, because if you're dedicated, if you're saying to yourself, I'm going to do whatever it takes to ultimately hit the rank of president. That may take a year, it may take 2 years, it may take you 5 years. Enjoy the mistakes, because every single time you learn a way not to be effective, you've scratched that off the list. And eventually you're going to dial in what works for you. And you're going to be very, very effective at not only sharing this, but also teaching others to do the same, which is really where the big money comes from. Yeah.
And I think that's such an important point. You're going to see people building this business very quickly, but it's okay to build it slowly as well, because, it's all about getting to the top of the mountain. And whether you do that in 6 months or whether you do that in 3 years, you're still at the top of the mountain. And in this business, that means you're going to get paid again and again and again for that one-time effort.
It really is incredible. Okay, so share some pearls with us. Things you've learned along the way, and maybe some aspirations for yourself for the future.
Well, I think one of the first things, which is really important, I think you've already hit on it, is the fact that you have to have a strong why. One of the key benefits of this business is the fact that we don't have all the negatives that you have with a traditional business. You know, we don't have overheads, employees, the list goes on. A lot of pressure is taken off you. So in a traditional business, you'll be looking at, you know, going into it because you want to make money, but also you've got all the challenges. So when you're building a traditional business, you have both the stick and the carrot. So the carrot is you want to build the business to make money, but the stick is that if you don't work hard, you're going to lose your business. Now, we don't have that in network marketing, so you have to be self-motivated. So it's very easy just to get to the end of the week and have not done anything or made just a couple of phone calls and to think that that's building the business. So imagine if that was a traditional business, you know, how well would your business be doing if you'd only made a couple of phone calls? So that's one of the key things. Have a strong why, because that will give you the motivation to get out of bed in the morning. So think about why you're doing this business. I think one of the things that I think is really should be really important in people's minds is the fact that so many people don't have pensions, they have no retirement plan, and people should really start thinking, you know, well, okay, what am I going to do about that? You know, whatever I need to do, you know, you've got to think about, I have to have something, because otherwise you're going to retire without any income, which is not a great place to be. So that for me would be a strong why, for example. But there are many other reasons why people can build a business. So that's the foundation once you've got that. I've already hinted, obviously, treat the business like a real business. So, you know, put time aside, even if you're working the business, you know, just a few hours a week, and make sure that you're setting that time aside and you're doing productive activities. And that will change over time. You know, initially, your initial process is referring people and introducing as many people as you can. And by the way, something I really stress to people, this is not a business of trying to convince people. It really isn't. We are professional inviters. We're inviting people to come along and look at an opportunity. It's up to them whether they decide to join or not. I often hear people talk about, you know, managing objections and this, that, and the other. Again, it's not that. You're just answering questions. And if you can't answer the questions, that's where your upline comes in. And the thing I love about CFX is that it is a great leveler. You know, I mean, I've got people in the business that have never done anything like this before. I mean, I've got grandmothers. Someone was telling me the other day that she worked in a care home. She's a care assistant, worked in a McDonald's to make ends meet. You know, she's now a director in this business on a 100K pack. You know, there's someone I can show you who takes this business seriously and is putting in that consistent effort. You know, they may not have had the skills or anything initially, but again, they probably made up in numbers what they lack in skill initially. So these are sort of some of the key things. You know, people often say to me, what makes a successful person in CFX? Well, if you look at all the leaders in CFX, they tend to be extremely, you know, different people, different countries, different cultures, different age groups, you know, whatever. But what makes them successful is that one thing I think is also really important, they've done their due diligence on the project. So they understand that CFX is the real deal. It's a business that's going to be around long term. So in other words, worth the effort putting into it. They're people that have a strong why, and they're people that have gone to work and they're working really hard on their business. I look back at my corporate career. You know, I used to work long hours. I was a sales director in the City of London, and you know, I hated it because it was a linear income. I didn't understand that at the time, but I always remember thinking every January, oh my goodness, I've got to start all over again. So when I saw a way of creating a leveraged passive income through creating distribution, that's what we're talking about here, I absolutely jumped at it with both feet. So so the work you put in here can be, I work a lot harder in this business than I did in the corporate world, but it's worth it. And I'm so motivated to do that because you don't have to work like that forever. You work hard for a period of time. There's a great saying, you work for 90 days, a 90-day blast, and you'll be amazed at where you can be from there. So as I said, have a strong why, understand what you've got with this business, and go to work. And it doesn't matter if you're any good at it or not. It's that activity and working with your upline, and you'll find that you'll get better and better and better as you go along. So that's really it, John.
That's great, Richard. I'm going to ask you just a couple more questions if you don't mind, but I agree with you. I think a 90-day blast, that's a really good, effective short-term goal. You can see the finish line in 90 days. I can get myself motivated to really hit something very hard that would normally be maybe a workload that I would be uncomfortable with. I can do that for 90 days. I think anybody could, even if it is if it's a really focused 5 hours a week. You can be incredibly productive in 5 hours a week. 10 hours a week, that's all the better. Now, let me know if you've seen this in your business. Having a why is certainly critically important. Setting goals for yourself that really inspire you is critically important. But it seems to me that there is a real self-confidence epidemic that is troubling people these days, regardless of where one lives. And if a person doesn't believe that they deserve to have, it doesn't matter what goal they set for themselves. It just doesn't matter, because at their core, they don't believe they deserve. And I'm wondering if you're seeing any of that yourself, and then I want to talk about that just for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, it's such a shame, because I want to shake people, when I see that, because Henry Ford had a great saying: if you think you can, you think you can't, you're probably right. And as I keep reiterating to people, this business is a great level. It doesn't matter who you are, what your background is. You can overcome that by putting in a work ethic. Now, we had a great call last week with Joe Jar, who's a billionaire who's just joined the business. And, his background, and I love using him as an example, he came from such a poor background. A Christmas present, he got a Satsuma. That was his Christmas present. And he's come from there to a multi-billionaire.
Sorry, just for those who don't understand what that is, what is that?
What?
A Satsuma.
Oh, right. Yes. Sorry. It's a little orange type fruit.
Got it.
So that's it. So, so incredible, how he's done that. But again, it just goes to show, he had no advantages at all. And yet he still made it happen. And so having that mindset is so important. And if you don't have that mindset, okay, and it's okay if you don't, start training. Develop it, exactly.
His passion,
books,
for assisting others is what's really inspiring. Yeah. And it's important that everyone listening now, whether it's on YouTube or in the Zoom room here, every single person know, if you can hear this, if you can hear us speaking, you need to know that you deserve. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what your exposure or your experiences up until this point have been. If you're breathing and you're listening, you deserve to have whatever you want. And there are forces that would love to have you believe that that's not true, to have you just continue to pay your way and contribute for those that do already have. But there's nothing that anyone with great abundance that we would look up to, they don't deserve success any more than you deserve success.